All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
All around old Cape Horn, ships of the line, ships of the morn. Some who wish they'd never been born, they are the ghosts of Cape Horn. All around a riddle rum with a rim dim diddy and a rum dum dum. Sailing away at the break of dawn, they are the ghosts of Cape Horn. See them all in sad repair, demons dance everywhere, southern gales, tattered sails, and none to tell the tale. Come all of you rustic old sea dogs.
And welcome to hour number 2 of tonight's show. This is the X Zone. I'm Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. And if you'd like to send me an email, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, on all social media sites, Xzone Radio TV. And we're coming to you the same way that we did the first hour on the Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, Xzone Broadcast Network, and throughout Ontario on Classic 1220 CFAJ AM. Also here in St. Catharines. In fact, they're just down the street from us. And they stream us at classic1220.ca. My guest this hour is a gentleman we've had pleasure of having on the show before. Chuck LEHMAN is his guest. And he is in Monroe Township in New Jersey. And we're going to be talking to Chuck about being a paranormal investigator, a Reiki practitioner, and a crystal bowl sound therapist. So joining me now is Chuck LEHMAN. And Chuck, welcome back to the X Zone. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing great, Rob. Thank you again for having me back on the show. It's a real honor to be on with somebody who's had such a long and incredible career doing this. I don't know how you've done it all these years, so it's hats off to you for all the years you put into this.
Oh, thank you so much, Chuck. It's because of guests like you and the members of the X Zone Nation that I just keep going. And it's the best job in the world. It really is.
It's a job I would love to have, but I'll defer to somebody like you instead.
Chuck, for the listeners who weren't with us the last time you were with us, let us know about yourself. Tell them who you are and what you do.
Right. So I'm 59 years old, again from Monroe, New Jersey. I'm happily married, and me and my wife, we just celebrated our 27th wedding anniversary a couple of weeks ago, so it was great.
Hey, congratulations.
Oh, thank you so much. And our daughter Alyssa graduated from college back in May. We went on a family trip to Europe for the first time in July, so it's been a busy year. I got a little paranormal investigating in here and there, but this has been more of a family year. And I started investigating the paranormal in 2010. I just wanted to see what the TV shows were like, how true it was. And after a few trips to a local cemetery, I said, "Oh, I'm hooked for life now, and I'll do this as long as I can possibly do it." And then it's funny because when I started this, it seemed to be a catalyst and opened up doors to other things. Because at the time, I had no idea what Reiki was, crystal bowl playing, and a whole slew of other things. And it just seemed one doorway opened after another, and it just led me to all these different things. So that's been my life in a nutshell for the past 14 years.
So as I understand it, the interest in the paranormal was first followed by Reiki and then followed by crystal bowl sound therapy, right?
Right. Yeah. How that even started, and it's just, I don't believe in coincidence anymore.
Okay.
Like what led me to Reiki was an early investigation with some friends in New York, and I got scratched. So to make a long story short, the scratch led me to a lady at it was a new age metaphysical store where I had to get some stuff to break a possible attachment. And this lady, Amy, she ended up becoming my meditation teacher, which I'd never had any luck with meditation until I met her. And then it turned out she was a Reiki master. So she said, "Oh, I'll try the Reiki." and I wasn't anybody who was particularly, I was more skeptical about the hands-on healing and the energy flow, and she opened my eyes to something to this, and then that ended up leading into crystal bowls down the road, making wire wrap jewelry, just the whole slew of things. So it was just, like I said, it's just one doorway open to another, to another, to another.
When you did your investigation into the TV shows that deal in the paranormal, what did you find?
The past couple of years, right after COVID, because COVID kind of put a squash, pretty much for everybody.
That's right, yeah.
I decided I wanted to get out of the Northeast, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, and head out to the Midwest, because there's a lot of very haunted locations, like you said, we're on the television shows. And it turned out, maybe in one case, it was sort of like what you see on television, but in the other cases, like when I got there, you would meet a caretaker and they'd take you for a tour. And at two locations, each different caretaker said, "Did you see this episode of this building on a particular ghost hunting show?" And I said, "Yeah." And they said, "Just throw that out the window. Whatever you saw, just throw it out. It was all, hyped up and everything."
Staged.
And, yeah.
So did the carekeepers have any great stories that they shared with you?
Well, they had great stories about the people who investigated there for the TV shows. And they weren't flattering by any stretch. There's one particular fellow, I'm not going to mention his name, but he screams demon all over the place. And at one location, he was in a boiler room, and I think he saw a shadow, whether it was a shadow figure or something cast by light. They said he got so scared that he ran out of the building, and it took him hours before he would go back in again. And it was like, but you don't see that on the television show. He acts like he's all manly, and he sends other people to do his dirty work. So that's, he'll send other people into the places he won't go into himself.
Tell us about your first investigation at Sally House.
Right. For people who don't know, the Sally House is in Atchison, Kansas, and it's the Amityville of the Midwest, so to speak. That's probably the best way to describe it. There was a family there in the 90s, the Pickman family, and the husband was tormented by an entity called Sally, a 5-year-old girl who's supposedly died on a doctor's operating, well, it was a kitchen table during an emergency appendicitis back in the early 1900s. There's no historical fact that corroborates that story. It's just a story. But real quickly, before I actually went out there, I was watching TV with my wife, Andrea, and there was a ghost hunting show, and they were doing a marathon, a couple of shows. And the first show was about the Sally House. And I'm like, oh, my God. I said, Andrea has no idea what this house is all about. She doesn't know the story of the Pickman family and what they went through and what other people had gone through. So in the first 15 minutes of the show, a cameraman gets scratched on the wrist. People get sick and they almost pass out in the basement. And the original guy from the 90s, Tony Pickman, he was there with the show. And he got a bad burn welt on the back of his neck. I mean, this all just went down like in an instant. So Andrea sees this, and then she turns and she looks at me and she goes, "That's where you're going to? Are you crazy?"
Yeah. The wives really have a way of putting things into proper perspective, don't they?
So, but I don't know what type of buzzsaw I'm going to walk into when I go into this place, because I'd watched other paranormal teams on their investigations on the social media. And it seemed the teams that went in there and showed respect had all right investigations, and the teams that went in there and challenged they got messed up, so to speak. So when I got there, and this was after a 20-hour drive to Iowa and Kansas, because that's where I was doing a bunch of investigations over a few days. I walk into the Sally House, and the first thing I do is I walk around and I say, "Look, I'm not here to challenge you. You have every advantage over me. I just want to communicate. If you don't want to communicate, that's great. But if you do, I'm here." But I said, I'm not going to challenge you on anything. But the most notable thing that happened at night, it was a little bit after midnight. I was on the second floor outside a nursery where a lot of activity has been reported to take place. And I'm doing the spirit box session. And I'm not really getting too much. And I know that whatever entities are there supposedly don't like you talking about religious things. So I said, let me push the boundary a little bit. So I said, "What do you think of Jesus Christ?" and I get a reply out of the box faintly. It goes, "He's stupid."
Oh, jeez.
So I'm like, but I also know that there's spirits there that pretend to be things they're not.
Right.
So the next thing, and I completely make this up on the fly. What I'm about to say, there's no such thing. But I say, whoever's here, I said, universal law says, if you're a demonic or a dark entity, you must reveal your name to me. You cannot refuse my request. Again, I'm just making that up on the spot. If they can lie, I can lie. So I said, so in the name of universal law, what is your name? And out of the box comes a deep voice, and he goes, Satan. Like you would think you would hear Satan's voice. So I'm like, wow, that's crazy. And I was doing a live feed on social media. So people were like, oh my God, oh my God. I'm like, this is not Satan. So my follow-up question is like, but if you're Satan, what are you doing here in this little house in the middle of, Kansas? Of all the places in the world Satan should be, where there's war, crime, misery, suffering, why this little house in Atchison, Kansas? And a few seconds later, my response is, because I work here.
He works there.
To me, that was just a prankster spirit who was just pretending to be Satan. And then I guess he didn't have an appropriate answer for it. So I just thought that was just comical. But that just showed me, it's not Satan. I think it was just a prankster spirit, again, trying to get a scare out of me. So.
It's funny, you were in Kansas, and if somebody, with my luck, I'd ask that question, what are you doing here? I would have gotten looking for Dorothy. Wow. So in a year, how many miles do you think that you put on just going from investigation to investigation to investigation?
Oh, it's crazy. So when I did my first trip out to Iowa and Kansas, because I did 3 investigations on 3 different nights in 2 different states. It was 2,100 miles there. Wow. Then it includes the driving to the different places, and then 2,100 miles back. The following year, I went to Indiana, Illinois, and Iowa again, but it was, night after night after night, and back to New Jersey. That was another 4,000 miles.
Oh my gosh.
In this year alone, at least 1,500 from going. I went to Ohio with my wife for a 60th birthday party for a friend that they had at a haunted location. So that's kind of a cool 60th party.
Yeah.
And then just a couple of weeks ago, I drove down to Delaware, and it was about a 4.5-hour trip there and back. And that was just for a private investigation for a family that was having issues at their house. But I was doing it for a friend, and I vetted him out. So I said, I'm not going to drive 4.5 hours if I think that this is, not on the up and up. But after I talked to the clients for a while, I said, all right, I feel confident enough. I'll make this long trip down there and back.
Chuck, we have to take our break. Please stand by. Great talking to you again. And Exo Nation, if you'd like to visit Chuck's website, it's chucksghosts.com. Chuck also has a Facebook page, facebook.com/Chuck's Paranormal Adventures. And Chuck and I will be back on the other side of this break talking more about his adventures right here in the X Zone from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away.
See them all in sad repair, demons dance everywhere, southern gales, tattered sails, and none to tell the tale. Come on, all of you rustic old seagulls, follow the bright southern cross. You were rounding.
Sitting home looking
Welcome back. Chuck Lehman is our special guest, and his website is chucksghosts.com. So, Chuck, in your opinion, out of all the places that you've traveled throughout the United States, where has been the most haunted place that you have been so far?
Okay, without a doubt, I will say it's the Villisca Axe Murder House in Villisca, Iowa. Um, that's a place that really affected me emotionally, and it's one of the places that I would really have second thoughts about going back to. So what happened to me there was before I went out there again, I'm doing my research from other teams who had been out there, and for people who are not familiar with the case, I think it was 1912, but what happened was is somebody got into this house belonging to the Moore family, the parents, and they had 4 kids, and they had 2 neighbor girls who came over to spend the night with them.
Right.
So a murderer or somebody hid out in the attic. They came out in the middle of the night, killed the parents with an axe, the blunt end of an axe. Then they walked down the hallway to where their 4 kids were and killed all of them. And then they went downstairs and killed the 2 neighbor girls. They covered up the mirrors. The guy cooked himself a breakfast, left a slab of ham by one of the beds.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, and then he left early in the morning. So the only reason the murder was initially discovered was because one of the neighbor people noticed the kids aren't outside doing the chores, early in the morning before school, and thought that was odd. Went over, knocked on the door, nobody answered. They had to get in touch with Mr. Moore's brother, who came over. They open the door, go inside, and they find the bodies.
Oh, geez.
And this is really going to make you cringe as a former police officer, but when they got the first police officer there, I believe the story was that he was sort of hungover from the night before. And he was like, he sees the crime scene and he's like, oh my God, like he didn't know what to do. So he left to go get, I guess, the sheriff or help, but he left the doors open. Now, of course, now word spread around town. So before the sheriff and everybody could get there to lock up the location and secure it, half the town apparently walked through the house to look at the bodies and see what happened. So the whole crime scene is contaminated.
Yeah.
I mean, not too much you could do, I guess, for 1912 versus today. But it's like, how could you leave the house open like that? And I think there were like 5 or 6 people who went to trial for the crime, and nobody was ever found guilty of it. So it's still an open case after all these years. Before I went, so I was watching other teams, and the one thing I didn't want to have happen was that there were EVPs captured of one of the Stillinger girls, one of the neighbor girls. Like the killer killed 7 people with the axe, but I guess the last girl he sexually assaulted from the way she was found at the house after she'd been killed. And people have caught EVPs of this little girl pleading for her life, crying. And as a parent, like, I don't want to hear it. Like, it could threaten me, it could curse me. Like, I don't care about that. I just don't want to hear a little girl crying. Even though my daughter's growing up, I said, I don't, you can understand it, but you don't want to hear that.
Of course not.
Right.
Of course not.
So I get to the house, and Johnny Hauser, the caretaker, he takes me on a tour of the house, and he was actually surprised that I was investigating alone. Because you're only like the 5th or 6th person there that's investigated by themselves. And I was like, well, that's really odd. I figured a lot of people would have done it. But he was telling me how whatever's there in the house goes after people and emotionally. It's not like I'm going to throw things and attack it. He said best friends could go in there, married couples who have never had an issue in their lives, and then they're ready to like strangle each other. So I'm like, well, it's just me, so I don't have to worry about anybody getting under my skin while I'm there. So after he left and I started my investigation, I think it was about 7 o'clock in the evening, and I was downstairs in the bedroom where the Stillinger girls had slept that night. And I was getting a little equipment interaction, so I needed something else. There was a barn next door that I had equipment in and my food and everything. So I went to go get something, and I left an audio recorder going. 5 minutes later, I come back. So I said, let me hear what happened while I was gone. So about a minute in, I could hear a male voice, and it's muffled and it's faint, so I can't make it out. And then about a minute after that, I can hear with a faint sound what sounds like a little girl going, please leave me alone. And I'm like, I did not just hear that. Please, God, I did not want to just hear that. And so I play it back again and again and again. And I was almost to the point of tears. So I had to leave the house. I went out to the barn, and literally listened to this recording a dozen times because I have to hear, I have to know that this is what I'm hearing. And I'm like, this is what I'm hearing. This is what I'm hearing. And then that, as upset as I was, then I went into road rage times 10. And I literally started looking for a baseball bat because I was going to go back in there and like, all right, you and me, we're having it out. I'll tear this house down to get to you. That's how angry I was. And then I thought about what Johnny Hauser had said to me about the emotional game. So I calmed down, and I was like, all right, let me get myself composed. And I went back in the house. Maybe it was about 10, 15 minutes later. Walked into the house, gave it the thumbs up, and I said, all right, you got me. You knew how to push my button. I give you kudos for that, but you're not going to get me with that for the rest of the night. I'm already wise to the game. Thinking now maybe I've disarmed it because I'm wise to it. And that just seemed to make it angrier because then over the next 5.5 hours up until about 2:30 in the morning, I'm getting EVPs and spirit box. I'm getting cursed out left and right. There's EVPs. If I'm going to get you, you're going to pay for this. Open your eyes and look at me. And I'm like, oh my God, this is terrible. So by 2:30 in the morning, because my original plan, like at the Sally house the night before, I stayed in the house all night. At 2:30 in the morning, the tension in the house was so thick. I mean, just you could just feel the anger in the air. I'm like, I can't sleep here because I think something bad's going to happen to me. So I went out and I got into the car. I took my equipment out of the house, got in the car, and took a nap until about daybreak. And then I came back in the house, and then it felt like sitting in my living room at home. Everything was all calm, and it was a stray cat that ran into the house. So I had to go chase the cat down, which is funny. I didn't want to leave the cat in there, obviously. And funny, it made a beeline right up to the attic, which is where the killer was supposed to have hid, before, waiting for the family to go to sleep so he can go out and do his, dastardly deed.
It amazes me still after all the years I was in law enforcement and now doing this show to see how cruel some people can be. And, to harm a child, that is
Yes.
the worst of the worst.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the sad thing was nobody was ever caught for it. To me, the person who I believe that there was a pastor or a reverend who was traveling through town, and he was apparently seen by other people like peeping at girls and stuff like that. So, and then the next morning he was on a train out of Villisca at 5 a.m. and was talking about the murders, but the murders weren't discovered until a couple of hours later. So how did he have knowledge of what happened? And he went to trial twice, and both times he was acquitted. So I don't know how that happened.
Yeah,
Maybe they thought he was crazy, but like if you have knowledge of a murder hours before it was discovered, like kind of like that's my red flag there. You're guilty.
Big time, big time. Do you think that the fact that he was a pastor or a man of the cloth, as they like to be called back then, that this might have had some influence on the jury? Because how could a man of God do anything like that?
Oh, absolutely, especially for the time period. I believe Iowa. I mean, I don't know how religious it was, but at that time, I believe Christianity and going to church and God, everything. I think it was a lot more prevalent than it was today. So I think a lot of people would have thought, no, there's no possible way a pastor could do it. Like you said, he's a man of God. How could he do something so despicable?
Well, we know now that there's been a lot of despicable things done by members of the clergy.
Yes.
So, it just goes to show that they're just like everyone else.
Right.
Yeah. What did it feel like taking on a negative entity one-on-one?
In that case, every location I go to, especially places like that in the Sally house, I mean, when I get there, I'm nervous because I said I don't know what type of situation I'm walking into. Like I said, at the Sally house, I walked in, and the first thing I did was I said, I'm not here to challenge you. I just want to communicate. And I did the same thing at Villisca. But unlike Sally, whatever was at the Villisca house, it didn't care. It doesn't care how nice you were. It didn't matter that I was just there, not to cause trouble. It's, oh, here's a person, I'm going to get him. Doesn't always happen. I know there's people that have walked into the house and go, I've never felt a thing. I guess it's just that was just not the right day to be there. I guess, the right time in the wrong place or the wrong time at the
Sure.
right place.
But could it also be, Chuck, that you're very sensitive to these types of vibrations, frequencies, and very, sensitive to these anomalies?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And at the time I had gone, because I had already achieved becoming a Reiki master, and I found it as I went through it took me about 4 years to climb the Reiki ladder from level 1, 2, 3 into master. But I felt as I went out on investigations after I started learning the Reiki that I started having more and more interactions. So maybe they just sense the energy in me. That's the best thing I can do to describe it.
Why do you think these spirits remain at the same place, even though they've been yelled at by paranormal investigators, that they've been, it seems that their privacy is all the time put into jeopardy, and yet they still remain there, whether they're good spirits or whether they're bad spirits. Why don't they just go to the light?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, I've found over the years, because I used to, for up until COVID, I was doing, it was called what we call gatekeeping, and which was helping to cross spirits into the light. That's a whole nother show right there in itself. But to me, that I found again, it's the unfinished business. There's spirits that are, even though, like what you just said, they're fearful of eternal punishment, so they're like, I'd rather stay here on Earth and be subjected to this than, being
Wow.
thrown into a pit of fire for all eternity. I mean, if that was my choice, I would probably do the same thing. I'd rather be, go ahead and have investigators taunt me for night after night. I'd rather put up with that than, eternal misery. But that's like
Yeah.
oh, and then the other reason is
Whoops,
that
Chuck,
they,
we've got to take our break, so please stand
sure.
by. Man, I've never talked to somebody who's actually gone one-on-one against a negative entity for how many hours?
At Velisca, that was 7.5 hours.
Stand by, Chuck. We'll be back. And Exonation, if you'd like to find out more about my guest this hour, Chuck Lehman, visit his website, chucksghost.com. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell, and Chuck and I will be back on the other side of this break, so don't go away.
Ivan was an old bear tracker. Tom was a man with dreams. And Ernie came along and I wrote the songs about a creature that few's ever seen. Monsters, myths, and mysteries, legend, tales, and facts. It brought us all together, and it's a reason for the fact. Up in North California, where the redwoods reach the skies, three men with a goal and a pact that they'd hold, and a promise till the day that they died. Answers to the questions no one's found before. Driving determination, the only key they had to unlock the door. Monsters, myths, and mysteries.
Chuck Lehman is our special guest this hour. chucksghost.com is the website. And Chuck, when you go into these locations, especially when you come across negative entities like you did in the last one you were telling us about, how do you make sure that these entities or these spirits don't follow you home?
Yeah, that's a great question. I take a lot more precautions than I used to, only because there was one time, this was 2016, 17. I was doing a private investigation for a friend of mine who was my friend Elena, a medium, and her kids were being tormented by something that was dark.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently one of her exes used to do dark magic in the house and had something in it that was really bad. But to make a long story short, at the end of the investigation, we drove the entity from the house. But before I left, normally what I do is I say that, standard prayers in the name of God and Jesus Christ, no spirits or entities have any permission to follow me home, attach themselves to me. I sage, I'll sprinkle holy water if I have to. I have different types of crystals, but
Mm-hmm.
that last time I basically I went without all of that stuff. And 2 weeks later, me and my wife and my daughter, we were going to Cape May, New Jersey. My daughter had a dance competition going down there, and I was really looking forward to the trip because I had never been to Cape May, most southern part of New Jersey. And the closer we got to the trip, the more I didn't want to go. I started getting angry. We go down on the trip, and my whole attitude was horrible. Like if you had just met me for the first time at Cape May, you would have said to Andrea, "How could you have married that guy? He's a real jerk." Like I remember the first night we were down at a marina having dinner, and I'm sitting there looking at the different parents. The
Mm-hmm.
kids are off at their own table, and I'm sitting there going, "I want to punch that guy in the
Holy
face. I
cow.
want to take that lady and throw her in the water. I hate all these people. I want to like take a knife and start slicing people up." What my it was like being in a dream and watching your body do something else. It was a crazy thing. I mean, it got to the point where Andrea even asked me. She goes, "Are you sure that something didn't attach itself to
Mm-hmm.
you when you were at Elena's house?" And I was like so arrogant. I was like, "That's impossible. That could never happen to me. I know what I'm doing." And then the last day we were in Cape May, I had this really, really bizarre dream. And when I came out of the dream, I was like, "Oh, I think that thing did attach itself to me. And we didn't drive it off. It just decided, oh, I'm going to go after this guy instead." So then I got home and then I
Mm-hmm.
did a proper cleansing with holy water, anointing oil. Like I did like the whole 9 yards to get rid of it. So after that, and that's kind of like the lowest of the low points for me as a paranormal investigator. I'm like, that's never going to happen again. So I don't uh, I don't put off doing my protections and my prayers. If I have to do it double, I'll do it just to make sure something like that never happens again.
Chuck, if somebody goes to a yard sale or a garage sale or a flea market and they just happen to buy a piece that they really like, they bring it home and they find out that there was an attachment to this piece that they just bought, how can they get rid of it?
Well, I've actually had somebody ask me that question, and my thing was just get rid of the whole thing.
Yeah.
don't don't even keep it in the house. I know there are people that take things like I met a lady a couple of months ago. She has a tattoo parlor in New Jersey, and she's got a collection of haunted dolls, supposedly
Wow.
haunted dolls. I've never been there, but she's got hundreds of dolls. People get these dolls. Same thing, yard sales,
Mm-hmm.
flea markets, antique stores come home, then crazy things start happening, and they get rid of it. And I actually had something like that happen to me just recently. Excuse me. Back in April, I went on an investigation to an old bank that was built in 1913. And at the end of the night, the guy who let us into the building, because we could go into the vault where they
Mm-hmm.
have all the safety deposit boxes.
Right.
So he said, "Oh, take a safety deposit box. This whole building's being torn down. It's all going to get thrown away anyhow." So I'm like, "All right, cool." I take a safety deposit box home with me because I thought it was cool. 2 days after we get it home, excuse me,
Sure.
um, my daughter's she had just gotten this electronic device for walking on exercise thing.
Mm-hmm.
It breaks. All these electronic items start breaking in the house. The dishwasher starts going bad. The refrigerator starts messing up. The air conditioning unit doesn't want to work. And I was just like, this is just too coincidental for me. So I was doing a public investigation with some friends at a place called White Hill Mansion in Trenton. So when we went down there, I took the safety deposit box with me, and the people who were, letting us in, I said, "You see this box? I've had problems with it since I've gotten it. I'm leaving it here with you. If you want to keep it because this place is haunted, that's great." But I said I had to get it out of the house, and Lo and behold, it's out of the house, and then all of a sudden, all the electronic problems stop taking place.
Well,
Whether that's coincidence, I don't know. But like I said, I'm to the point I almost don't believe in coincidence anymore. So my best advice would be if you bring something home and it's got something, just get rid of the whole thing. Don't try to sage it or holy water it, because maybe you get rid of what's on it, maybe you don't. Just play it safe and get rid of the whole thing.
Chuck, as a paranormal investigator, what is your opinion of the Amityville story?
Uh, that's something I've got a mixed bag on. I can see it, but then the people who were in the house afterward and nobody has anything happening to them. And then the story of the people investigating it. I've seen the movies, I've seen the documentaries. I just leave it. I'll just leave it as an open mystery, because I can see where people were trying to make money off of it. Could the story have been invented? Of course, it could have. I can't lean one way or another, because I've never been to the house. Like when I went to the Sally House in Villisca and some of the other places, I want to see how bad. I want to see if the reputation meets what has been out there for years. And unfortunately, the Amityville house is a house I could never get into. So
Right.
I'll just leave that as an open mystery. Maybe, but I can see it. I can see both sides of the argument.
So can I, and I'm glad that you said that, because I've often looked at that, and you look at the pros and the cons on both sides, and you're no further ahead after looking at everything than you were when you started. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, I understand. There's people they're rock solid. It has to be true. It has to be true. The people who investigated, they were rock solid, and I understand the passion of it. But it's like I can't draw an analogy off the top of my head, but it's like there's the passion, but the evidence. It's the evidence we need too. So. Passion without evidence it just leaves it to me as an open mystery.
Chuck, in your opinion, how does EVP work? Because I've been in broadcasting and broadcast engineering for a number of years. And as far as I know, in order to get something recorded, you have to have an audio, something audio has to talk, and you're able to see it or measure it on the recording instruments or through your panel.
Right.
But according to every paranormal investigator that I've talked to over the years, you ask a question, pause, and then you ask another question. How in the name of heavens, in your opinion, does the voice of the spirit or ghost get onto that tape if people can't hear it?
Yeah, I know that's and I basically give you the same answer that everybody else does. Like I can't answer that. The way I look at it, because I've heard you talk to other paranormal investigators on your show, and everybody's still trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
But to me, it's almost like a radio airwave. I know there's something that produces the radio signal, it goes out, and then you have a receiver that picks it up.
Right.
But there's something in their realm, the energy that they're producing somehow. I know, like we have vocal cords, so that's how that works. Maybe it's a electromagnetic vocal cord that does it,
or thought transference,
or a thought transference. Exactly. I hope it's not my thoughts, but I know a lot of times when I've heard that as a reason too, that some people think, oh, the EVP it's a thought transference from the investigator themselves, but I kind of disagree with that, only because EVPs that I've captured totally throw me for a loop. Like I know I wasn't thinking about anything like that. So how did that come out get caught on the audio recorder?
More questions than answers when investigating the paranormal.
Oh, absolutely. And unfortunately, I don't think my lifespan will let me live long enough to see all those questions answered.
I don't think there's anybody on this planet right now who could say that, oh yeah, it's going to be discovered in our lifetime. So I think that's a very good analogy.
Oh wait, there's something I want to add though, because
Sure.
I've got two friends, and this is kind of interesting, an interesting way to go. So I've got these friends, Ron and Lourdes, and they have it's called Project Staticom. and they take white noise. So they're not even using, like a spirit box with the radio stations. They're using a machine that generates
White
white noise.
noise,
It's
yeah.
not even like a recording of it's a strict a white noise generator.
Mm-hmm.
But it's in an enclosed system. So there's no audio that can get into it.
Mm-hmm.
And he runs it through software to knock out the white noise. So to me, when you screen out the white noise from a white noise generator, you should have complete silence.
Right.
But some of the locations they go to, they're getting voices. I mean, it's we were at the Conjuring House in Rhode Island last year, and they had set it up, and they were playing it, and we were sitting there baffled, like, how is this? How are they getting the sound? How are they taking the white noise that's filtered out, and now there's still sound there, and you're getting voices, and they were answering questions directly.
Mm-hmm.
Like I heard my name, the name Chuck. I've heard Chuck said, several times, and then somebody asked, what type of um, energy work does Chuck do? And out of the box comes, it said Reiki, and I'm just, to me, to this day, they're still baffled. I should tell them to come on your show so they can talk about it, because that's probably one of the
Yeah.
closest things to the EVP that we're looking for.
All right, stand by, Chuck. We've got to take our final break, not only for this hour, but for tonight's show. Fascinating. The world of the paranormal.
Yes.
I'll be back on the other side of this break as Chuck and I continue. We're going to talk to Chuck about his book when we come back. And if you'd like more information about Chuck, visit his website, chucksghosts.com. This is the X-Zone. I am Rob McConnell, and we're coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network and your hometown radio, Classic 1220, streaming at classic1220.ca.
3 men with a gold and a pack that they'd hold and a promise till the day that they died.
What I feel, I can't say. But my love is there for you anytime of day. It's all love that you need, and I'll try my best to make everything succeed. Tell me what is my life that you love. Tell me who am I without you by my side.
And welcome back, everyone. Chuck Lehman is our special guest, and don't forget his website is www.chucksghosts.com. And first of all, Chuck, thanks very much for coming on the show tonight. Always a great pleasure talking to you. And I wish you continued success, and I hope, my friend, that you're the guy who discovers the answers to all these problems. So I won't have... Yeah,
I really wish I could. I hope I can at least get maybe one question answered.
there
Like,
you go.
yeah.
Hey, tell us about your book, Dancing with the Divine and the Darkness.
Right. So back in 2018, I was doing a friend, Christine, was doing a good medium friend of mine. She was doing a reading for me, and she says, Chuck, you have to write a book. And I thought, early on, I thought, maybe one day I'll write a book about all my paranormal adventures. And I mentioned that to her, and she says, no. She goes, you have so many stories that have to do outside of your paranormal investigating that nobody knows about. And so you need to write about that. And I was like, how does she know that? Because I do have a lot of crazy things that happened that had nothing to do with it, paranormal investigating. Like I said, all these doorways started opening up
Right.
and all these crazy things started happening. And she goes, you're not going to make any money on the book, but you have to write the book because there's other people out there going through similar things. And I'm sure you've heard many, many times how many people never want to talk about their experiences because they're afraid they're going to get ridiculed.
Many times, many,
Many
many,
times.
many times.
So the book is basically about all the paranormal, supernatural things
Hmm.
that happened to me over the years. Things with good, like meeting Jesus, uh, uh, run-ins with evil, uh, finding out that I had a twin flame, which was just a mind-blowing experience.
What is a
Past
twin?
lives.
What is a twin flame?
As it was explained to me, because when I was told about it, I had no idea what it was. So, from what I've been told, a twin flame is apparently, allegedly, again, I would say allegedly, when the soul is created,
Hmm.
sometimes it splits off into a masculine and the other part into a feminine part.
Okay.
And so when if they carnate on Earth at the same time and that they find each other, it's supposed to be the most intense romantic relationship that there can be. But there's also a catch to it because uh, whatever problems you have in yourself that you don't see, you
Hmm.
will see in your twin. So it's like a mirror reflection. But the twin flame that I found out about she's in spirit, so she's not here on Earth. So when I found out about her, and it was, oh my, it was a crazy thing because when I, all right, so I'm going to go back to 2010 when I first started investigating,
Okay.
and I had a spirit that tried to attach itself to me. Scratched me, I had a medium look into it, and he said it was a female who took a liking to you, and she wants to hook up with you. And I'm like, oh no, that's not happening. And I'm married, and even my wife said when she found that, she goes, "You tell that hussy to leave my man alone." Um, and so I was able to get rid of it. And then maybe about 3 years later, one night I have this dream about
Hmm.
in a parking lot, I run into a 20-year-old blue-eyed brunette, and she says, "Hi, Chuck," in a dream, and I said hi, and she goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "I don't know," and she goes, "Well, I'll see you later." And I wake up and I think that's just a really weird dream. And then a couple of weeks later, I have another dream, but it's vivid and I'm self-aware. Like one minute I'm sleeping in my bed, now I'm at an apartment complex, and I'm like, what am I doing here? Like, I thought I was just in my bed sleeping. The same brunette comes out and she says, "Oh, I'm so glad you could make it. Come inside with me." So I'm like, all right. So I follow this girl inside. We go inside what's like a small apartment, and there's two people sitting at a table, a mother, I just gonna say a mother and a brother. And I sit across from the girl.
Hmm.
Don't know what her name is. Never seen her before, other than the other dream. And so there's some small talk going on, and I'm sitting there going, "This is crazy." Like I know I'm in my bed, but what am I doing here? Like I'm completely self-aware. It's like this can't be a dream. But I feel like I'm about to wake up shortly. So then the mother says, I guess she senses it, and she goes, tells the son, "Let's go leave so these two can go sit on the couch and be kissy face." And I'm like, "What?" And I'm like, "Well, hold on a second." I said, "First off, I said, I'm old enough to be this girl's father because at the time I was 46, 47, I forgot. And she's like 20. So I said, I'm old enough to be your dad. And I said, and I'm happily married and I'm not looking for anything. I love my wife to death. It's not happening." So the girl gets all despondent and then she's like, "Well, it's okay. Maybe we'll find a way to make this work." And I'm like, "What?" And then I wake up in my bed. Then maybe I don't know, a month or so later, I have a dream and I'm sitting up, and again, I'm self-aware, and I'm sitting on the top of a barn, the
Hmm.
door that's open on the top where the
Yep.
hay is hoisted up to, and it's the most beautiful romantic setting off in the distance. Here comes the brunette. She sits down next to me, but I'm not. I'm like, what is she doing here? And then she tries to snuggle up to me and put her arm around me, and I'm like, oh no, 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 no! This again. I already told you this is not happening. So then I had another 6 or 7 dreams similar to this, but now they're all with girls who I either dated when I was younger or I had I was attracted to. And again, it was always the same thing about trying to snug. And I'm like, and so I'm thinking this must be the crazy spirit girl from years ago who tried to attach herself to me. Now she's trying to trick me to get back with me. Why she didn't why did she didn't come to me in the dream as my wife? I don't know because that would have worked in a second. So then we fast forward a few weeks, and I'm talking to my medium friend Elena
Hmm.
again, and she goes, "Let's find out what all this is." So she's doing a reading with me, and she's holding me, feeling the energy, and she comes out of it. She goes, "Oh my God, Chuck," she goes, "it's not a spirit. It's not the spirit trying to attach itself to you. It's your twin flame." And I'm like, "Twin flame?" And then so they're trying to explain to me what a twin flame is. And I had made no sense of this. And then she says, "But before like you leave, or you leave to go home, you have to make a decision." And I'm like, "What's the decision?" And she goes, "You have to decide, do you want her with you for the rest of your life? And if you do, you'll get, gifts and things will happen. But if you reject her, she'll leave you alone for the rest of your life, but you're going to have this ball of sadness inside of you." So I leave, I go down, I get in my car, and I'm sitting there thinking, this is just all nuts. And I said, "I don't know who you are, what this is all about, but I don't want a ball of sadness sitting in me for the rest of my life." So I said, "So I gladly accept you." And the instant I said that, it was like a giant wave of energy shot through my body. Like getting when you get chill bumps on your
Okay.
skin, but it was like 100 times that, and without the goose pimples. And then I'm going home, and this energy is surging through me. I have no idea what's causing it. I turn on the radio, and there's a Rita Coolidge song on from All Time High, and it's literally playing the lyrics as I had turned on the radio. "We're two of a kind, we move as one." And I'm like, "What is this?" And then for the next 30 days, I was on a roller coaster. These energy waves just blasted me from here to there before they finally went away. And then I had to set boundaries and everything with this. And I was just like, oh my goodness. I'm like, what is this twin flames? I refer to her now as a twin soul, because it's not, to me, this is not a romantic relationship. It's like a spiritual love. So,
Fascinating. That's truly fascinating. Hey, listen, time is moving on fast here.
right.
You mentioned you met Jesus.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Right. So again, it's another one of these dreams, and
Okay.
it's I'm vivid, I'm self-aware, and I'm lost. I'm trying to find my way around, and I walk into this building. I ask for help. I'm not getting any help. So down this hallway, there's I'm cutting the story a little short, but down this hallway, I hear some meditation, like New Age music coming out of a room. So I walk down and I look in the room, and there's a guy laying on a couch, one of these couches you would see like in a stereotypical psychologist office. And the guy laying on there is in the full robe and sandals, and I'm looking at it going, this is Jesus Christ. He's sitting here listening to meditation music. So he says, "Come on in, my son." So I walk in, and he goes, "Kneel down next to me." So I kneel down next to him. I mean, I'm not going to refuse Jesus Christ if that's what he's telling me to do. And as I'm kneeling there on the floor, across the hallway, there was another doorway. And this dark mass started to form in the doorway. And it started to come out like it was going to come across the hall into where our room is. So Jesus stands up and he says, "Take my hand." So I take my left hand and grab his right hand. He says, "Close your eyes, trust in me, and don't be afraid." So I close my eyes. And all of a sudden, there's this brilliant, bright white light that even fills my eyelids. So I guess whatever's there is vanquished. And then all of a sudden there's a book in front of me, and the pages start flipping fast and furious. Like, is this the life past? Is this your life experience? And you're looking at everything that happened. I can't make out any of the pictures. The next thing, I wake up in bed, and I'm laying face down on the bed with my arms down to my side, and my left hand is being held like a firm hand grip, like if we were shaking hands. So I figure it's Andrea, that she's laying on her side, and her hand happened to grab mine, and somehow that worked its way into a dream. Like if you hear a song on the radio and it works its way into your dream, you wake up and there's a song. And so I'm laying there like, I don't want to move because I don't want to pull my hand away and wake up Andrea. And about 60 seconds later, the feeling just vanishes. The hand's not pulled away. It just dissolves in the thin air. And I'm like, what is going on? And then I move to turn to look at Andrea. She's laying on her side with her back to me, so her arm's in front of her. So she was never holding my hand. But that firm handshake lasted at least a minute, if not longer. And I was like, oh my God, like, I really think that was Jesus, and he was letting me know that it was him. Because I was never a religious person. I was never looking for Jesus, although I believed in him and God. But I was never a religious person in my life. And that dream that whole thing just rocked my world.
Chuck, we've got to say so long for tonight. I want to thank you ever so much for joining us. And don't be a stranger. The door's always open for good people.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
You take care of yourself. And Exo Nation, if you'd like more about Chuck, visit his website, chucksghosts.com. Well, that's it for tonight. I'll be back tomorrow night at 10 o'clock as once again we cross the time-space continuum to that place that we call the X Zone. It's on Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, X-Zone Broadcast Network, and on your hometown radio, Classic 1220, CFAJ here in St. Catharines, and streamed around the world on classic1220.ca. So until tomorrow night, my friends, always remember to keep your eyes to the sky and your heart to the light. Good night, everyone.